From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the Hourly News Blast. LGBTQ Nation is reporting the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California has granted a temporary restraining order blocking the Trump administration from withholding billions in federal funding to the state in retaliation for its refusal to allow schools to out transgender students to their parents. As the Advocate reports this week, California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Education and the Trump administration over its threat to withhold $4.9 billion in annual federal education funding unless the state allows local school districts to notify parents of students' social gender transitions, which would violate California law. Last month, U.S. Department of Education accused the California Department of Education of violating the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, a federal law granting parents the right to access their children's education records. In a statement, Education Secretary Linda McMahon said CDE had egregiously abused its authority by pressuring school officials to withhold information about students' so-called gender transitions from their parents under the state's Support Academic Futures and Educators for Today's Youth Act, or Safety Act. Sorry, Linda, you snotty little bitch. They're not going to turn it over because it's a violation of state law. As the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, said, see you in court. The 2024 law prohibits parental notification policies in school districts and protects teachers and administrators from retaliation if they choose not to follow district directives to out LGBTQ plus students to their parents. LGBTQ plus advocates contend that outing children to unsupportive parents without their consent can be dangerous. And Bonta and California State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tony Thurmond, a Democrat, have argued in court that students have a constitutional right to privacy from their parents in the state. In his February 11th complaint, Bonta challenges the Education Department's claim that the state is in violation of FERPA. He argues that the law only requires disclosure of education records and does not require schools to affirmatively disclose a student's gender identity or preferred name or pronouns to parents, nor does it even mention gender identity. Defendants have failed to demonstrate even a single violation of FERPA, the lawsuit states. They do not even cite one instance in which any local educational agency failed to disclose education records that state a student's gender identity or any other record in response to a valid parental request under FERPA. The lawsuit says the Education Department exceeded its legal authority by demanding that CDE disclose education records related to a student's gender identity to a student's parents, where the parents have not made any request for that education record, and by requiring CDE to disclose information, materials, or documents related to gender identity that fall outside of an education record as defined by FERPA, according to the lawsuit. In a February 11th statement, Bonta described the Education Department's threat to withhold federal funding as a flagrant attempt to intimidate the California Department of Education and California's local education agencies under the guise of enforcing FERPA. We will not stand by as USED uses baseless claims coming out of Linda McMahon's ass to attack crucial education funding, Bonta added. We will continue to fight to protect California's schools and students from unfair attacks and work to ensure a discrimination-free educational environment for all students. In granting California's request for a temporary restraining order, U.S. District Judge Noel Wise ensured that the Trump administration cannot withhold federal funding while the case plays out. That is the News Blast for this hour, and if you are watching our News Blasts on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. PEP Radio is available on the Live 365 app, the PEP Radio page at paequality.com, Roku, and Alexa. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.